You're tuned to Trust One Realty, making sure your next move is a smart move. Now here's your host, Arbi.
Welcome to Trust One Realty. I'm your host, Arbi. And this week we have a Herb Smith on the line. We also have Q, our producer, that always also be part of this interview. So Herb, how long have you been in the organization?
Arbi and Q, thank you for inviting me today. I've been with the Los Angeles President's role for the last 10 years. Prior to that, for 5 years, I was chairman of the board and worked for the mission a couple of years in the 90s in a CFO role.
Oh, wow. Well, we thank you for helping people,
figure
by
out
the
what
way.
I can do, and I'll keep a permanent job.
Well, it sounds like you wear a lot of hats over there. I'm sure, you folks do a lot of great work. What would you say is your most rewarding part of working with the organization?
Well, I think the most rewarding part is to see people get happy programs, many cases be reunited with family, being able to get jobs, being self-sufficient and independent, and just being grateful. Many of them return the good services that we provide by volunteering people that were in similar situations, and I think that's really one of the most rewarding things is people get it, that we all need to help each other, and no matter how bad our situation was, there's someone else usually worse, and we can all contribute to help each other.
Herb, I think we're getting a little disconnect on the phone. So
Herb, so here's a few questions I wanted to ask you. How do you define homelessness as a broken relationship?
Well, Arbi, we look at the people, but as having challenges that they've encountered in life, and most of those are challenges of relationship. It's a relationship with family members where they have exhausted their tolerance for their behavior or their ability to fund. In many cases, it's relationships with employers. They're not working well. They don't have the right skills. With the educational system, where they don't have the educational abilities, or with the legal system, they've been in trouble, and they need to. Each of these are a form of relationship that the Los Angeles Mission focuses on helping individuals to correct and monitor and move forward.
Right. Very well explained. And what is the difference between Los Angeles Mission and other agencies, and why you complement each other?
Well, I think that the Los Angeles Mission has, at its core, a sense of the spiritual nature of mankind. As a result, some of what we do has spiritual overtones and as part of the programming. But at the end of the day, we do focus on the recovery program with an expectation of people being self-sufficient, whereas several organizations are to focus on existence, getting people enrolled in government benefits, but with no real intent to get them off the benefits and independent.
Right.
And so we see ourselves as focused more on a person's potential.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's perfect, because then they fill in the gaps, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And the year-end giving?
Well, year-end giving is very important for us. Over a third of our income comes in the period of November and December. If you're a business person, you know what that's like when you have to plan cash flow and activities a year in advance. So it's very important for us to make sure that our donors are aware of our need effectively in this current period of time.
Right. Yeah, it's I try to use my company as a way of collecting donations, non-perishable, and clothing at the end of the year. So then I donate it to food banks or even to you guys, because I actually dropped off a lot of perishable food from a parade that we had for an organization I'm part of. So I called Krista, and she directed me to the facility by the park, by you guys, yes. And I dropped it off. I normally always dropped off everything at that location. I have some other banks that I'm kind of going to ask that question later on in the interview. But for now, the other one is what investments in Los Angeles Mission benefits the communities?
Well, the whole purpose of the Los Angeles Mission is to their experience in the community. So to the extent that a person's investment in the mission helps a person gain recovery, be restored and employed, be part of a person back in the family. Those are investments in the life of a person, and then the larger community is not responsible in the future for having to continue to supply ongoing needs, and they're independent and benefits from that.
Mr. Smith, this is Q. How, like, you folks helped a lot of people along throughout the year. How many of these folks or do you ever have a history of these folks coming back to the organization and helping others? Have you experienced that?
Yes, we do. We have the services that we call crisis emergency services, overnight beds and showers. We have people from that population who come and volunteer with us. We have others who go through our programs, and they come back and volunteer as mentors in custodial services. Part of what we try to instill in people is giving back, and whether that's being able to do that at the Los Angeles Mission facility or place where they find themselves, that spirit of giving it's a psychological benefit,
right?
Where you're able to do something for somebody else,
right? When you're able to help somebody, it actually makes you feel better at some point, right? I'm really involved with transitional age youth, and so a lot of these folks, family members, have young kids. And so when they go through the system and they turn 18, they're legally an adult, but really they're in that transitional age between 18 and 25, that they could be, they're in limbo, and they could go either way. Are there any programs that are set to help transitional age youth at the organization? We,
interestingly, you ask, traditionally not done a lot with. Anyone 18 and over is able to get into our recovery programs, and depending on what their needs are, we can help them with education and job training and employment. But the needs of the two really are fundamentally housing, transitional housing, some mentoring, and education and employment. And we do a limited amount of that, but we also partner with some other agencies that we find are much better address that population. Mm-hmm. It's a very challenging one. Pathways to the Future is a great organization we've worked with, and others that focus on the TAY population.
It's always encouraging to speak with organizations that a lot of times you can be caught in working in your own particular silos and really not finding the great work that's being done throughout the community. But I applaud you folks for being able to collaborate with other organizations to make sure we're covering the gaps and filling the gaps of the community.
Well, thank you. That's a personal passion of mine. We can't do it all by ourselves. There are 58,000 homeless persons and others that are near homeless, need homeless prevention services and organization and the scope of life. So I say to my staff, if there's a way to partner with someone else who's doing it and we can work together to achieve what we need to for these individuals and their outcomes, right, we need to be doing that.
Love it.
And so we do it with in different ways. Chrysalis, another agency we work with for employment skills. We do a bridge housing program with them. We've worked with the Union Rescue Mission for some of the women's services that we don't provide.
Yeah, there's a few things that you mentioned that it's one of my follow-ups with you. But I want to ask the most permanent questions that are more important. Is there any upcoming Christmas events that your organization is offering or is going to be performing?
Yes, we're excited. We have our annual Christmas event. It's going to be on December 22nd this year on Friday, and that's an event. There'll be a wonderful Christmas meal that's being provided. It's the head chef is Ben Ford of Ford's Filling Station, celebrity chef, but he'll be working with our team and volunteers to prepare the meals. A tent for kids with holiday toys, Christmas toys that they'll be able to receive. There'll be some other activities, adult activities, and some hygiene and other products that we give away. Whenever we always start with a wonderful meal. We say hope begins with a meal. Right. But we also look to provide some tangible benefits to the individuals. such as Christmas gifts or hygiene products, foot washing, when we're working with the clinic, helping people that they might need and observe their health conditions. Those are all part of what the Los Angeles Mission does at our street events.
Once again, that goes on December 22nd
from 11.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to put all that information on the Facebook page of Island Block Radio and Dash Radio. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. We'll make sure that we get that information out to the masses.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
And what time is it, or when does it begin? Is it all day event?
It begins at 11 o'clock. The gates open at 11, and we close the gate at 3.
Okay, great.
And it's on 5th Street between Wall and San Pedro.
San Pedro, okay.
Yep.
December 22nd between 11 and 3 on 5th Street between Wall and San Pedro. Make sure you guys get there early. Be sure to bring something to help others. And once again, we're going to put all the details, all the information on the Facebook page of Island Block Radio.
Thanks, IQ. So moving on, the increasing of homeless and the lack of affordability, housing affordability.
Well, one of the challenges we have in LA is the affordability of housing. And many of the individuals, so that 58,000 that are homeless, probably two-thirds of those are homeless because of economic issues, not drugs and alcohol or some of the other challenges of life, such as mental health. But the affordability, if you're not making a decent wage in LA, it's almost impossible to find affordable housing. And that is numbers of homeless individuals up. And we're fearful that if we don't find a way to solve this in terms of housing supply and affordability index, that we're going to continue to see an escalation of homeless individuals. That's true. And families.
That's true. And that's one of the things I've been actually trying to figure out. How can I help people with being able to afford a housing, which I'll discuss further in it, because it's one of those things where, and I'm an advocate in people not living on the streets, especially families, women and children primarily. But it's very, very hard to be able to get housing for them. It's not like where there's no government that helps you out. There's no direction. And it's something where I constantly try to reach out, but it's very complicated. Paperwise, right. Paperwork, legal aspects of it. How do you start? Where do you begin? Which is what I was telling you when I went through your website. I saw one of your stocks, real estate and assets, and I was curious on it. How is real estate? How can somebody with real estate or somebody like me who's in the real estate industry? How can we help with the ones who are need housing?
Well, there's two ways that a person can do that. One is if they have real estate that they want to make a donation of, where if they would like us to continue to operate it for housing for homeless or low-income individuals, that's something we are able to do or able to do with partnership. Or the other is if you have an apartment that you'd like to rent at a reasonable price, then we can partner with other agencies or through LASA to get tenants. The county and the city have worked very hard to make some new rules available in terms of guaranteeing their rent and deposits and so forth to make it a financially viable option for a person that owns real estate to rent to individuals in need.
Right, and that's one of the things I was planning on doing is to buy property and then let moms and kids live in it while their parents are trying to get a job, while the kids are at the house. Because a lot of women lose their jobs because they can't afford a babysitter, so then they fall into that spiral. And I wanted to purchase a property and then make it kind of like a boarding home, but not really a boarding home, where I'll have a staff watch the kids, and then the mom or the dad goes and looks for a job and to bring income. They could stay there for a portion of the time, pay the rent, whatever they could afford, until they're able to make more money where they could actually go out and find their own apartment. And I've been trying to do that for the past couple of years, but I keep running into a lot of hurdles. Something that maybe offline we could discuss on that.
I'd be happy to do that. Yes.
And what's the gifts in kind that you guys offer, or the
gifts in kind is how we refer to stuff that people give us, everywhere from clothing to canned food to furniture to artwork. Anything, any tangible item that's given to us is referred to as gifts in kind.
Okay.
And we use that very heavily, particularly the food stuff. We use that in our kitchen, and we use it in our food box distribution programs. Clothing's used with our programs as well. Things people give us we can't use, and we do have ways to dispose of those, either to other agencies who can use them, or in some cases we may sell them to a thrift store or something like that. Okay. But basically we make sure it all gets used, and it's sold, which is not usually the case, but if they are, then they go back into our programs. Otherwise, it goes directly to a person in need.
Right. And that's a year-round program.
That's year-round, 24/7, and those donations can be dropped at our dock on Winston Street, or if it's large enough in the right areas, we do have pickup routes that can be available, and you can call us, and we can help you with the information on that.
Awesome. Now, I have a few questions. Me and my wife are very into organizations, fundraising. Now, we've worked with Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, and we also work with Downtown Women's Center, and obviously with you guys. Can you kind of break down on what their differences are, so we actually know where we're donating? Because I feel bad picking one out of the other two, so I kind of want to get an idea on how do you guys complement each other? Right.
Well, those are all three great organizations. Obviously, I think we're a great organization. But the food bank does a lot of broader LA distribution. What's also important is we buy a lot of food, or get a lot of food, through the food bank that we use in our program. Someone donates green beans and we need corn, or a lot of times meat and so forth. We're able to get that through our cooperation with the LA Regional Food Bank. And then the Downtown Women's Center is another wonderful agency focused on permanent supportive housing for women, and they have about 70 beds there. They don't do any overnight shelter beds for women or men. They have very limited day services for the community, but they're as a place where women that have been homeless can go and get sometimes recovery, or in many cases it's a place where they can live, and hopefully at some point maybe even be able to move on to something else once they've been able to stabilize it. And we complement each other because we provide different services, but also our Ann Douglas Center for Women does some recovery programs. They cooperate with the Downtown Women's Center, and there's a study that's done each year on women's needs. We all cooperate on that. So there's no bad place to help. I think all of us help. We all work at supporting each other and ultimately helping the people we're here to serve.
You know what, Mr. Smith, once again, I commend you folks for everything you guys do. And right now it is the holiday season. So I can imagine there are going to be a lot of folks who are going to want to contribute, who are going to want to help. Two questions for you. My question is two-part. One, what is one of the items that people tend to bring that they probably shouldn't bring, like, whether it be something perishable? So what is that item? And then the follow-up question is conversely, what is something that you need that a lot of people don't think about in terms of donating?
Well, I'll give you a funny story for the answer to the first one. We received several thousand plug-in water fountains that we were supposed to give to homeless people, but there is no electric plug in a shopping cart.
See, there you go.
So,
right.
There's a classic example of we don't need it and we don't really know how to even help.
Yeah.
The truth is, we can always use canned goods. We can always use socks and underwear, things that affects a small individual-sized soaps and shampoos, things like you get in a hotel or something, or take on a trip. Those are always very beneficial because they're easy for us to give out to someone who's living on the street and they have a bottle of shampoo to work with, and they probably get lost or spilled or whatever. So those are the kinds of things. Prepared food, we can always work with that under certain circumstances as long as we know how it was prepared and cared for. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the things that most frequently. Large-size men's clothing is always important. Ladies' bras in large sizes is also something that many of the women that come to us require. A lot of things that people can donate that we definitely can use.
No, that's great, because I think that I haven't, in the past, I think 10 years, right, I haven't thrown anything away. Everything's gone
and for me, like, I didn't realize the socks was such an important thing. So thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and
sure.
If you can, if you could email me the list of the most demanding, and then and then go down the list, the most demanding of the first part, and then as you go down. So this way, if I'm gonna do a gathering of clothes and whatever else you need most, I could actually let people know that if you have this, it's really needed.
Right.
I was told because I volunteer for Move for Hunger, and one of the biggest things that they're always short is peanut butter. They are always short on peanut butter. She actually told me.
Wow.
Peanut butter and protein. Any kind of protein product is always in short supply. Tuna fish, canned meats in small containers, because those are things that people on the street can utilize, or apartment. They don't have a lot of refrigeration. So, yeah.
Herb, I'm very happy, and so is Q, and we're excited that you're putting your time and effort in getting the people that need the most help. And me and Q, we do commend you on that.
Absolutely.
We are here to help.
And once again, it's December 22nd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on 5th between
Wall and San
Pedro. Once again, we'll put all that information out there. We expect this to be a tremendous event, and we encourage everybody to bring socks, bring all the list of items that Mr. Smith just mentioned, because there's a lot of folks out there that could use your help.
Right.
Say, you can come at the event, but we're always here 364 other days a year if it's more convenient.
Right.
We always invite people to come down and see what we do. I don't want your money first. I want you to see what we do and find the passion in what we're doing, and then support us accordingly, because we're here to help people. And if that's what you want to do, we can make that happen.
And we thank you, Herb.
Thank you.
Los Angeles Mission, just to wrap up, Los Angeles Mission organization offers many different services to help the homeless. To learn more about Los Angeles Mission, please visit losangelesmission.org and see how you can help. Look, if we as a community can get together and help the homeless or the needy, who else will be there? We are the ones that will be helping them. Nobody else. So if any way, by time, monetary, or just personal items, please donate them to Los Angeles Mission, and let's make this holiday a happy holiday. Thanks a lot, Herb. We really appreciate you being on the phone.
Appreciate it.
And we'll have you again at another time as a guest, and we could go further into what the mission does.
Would love to do that anytime.
Happy holidays.
You guys have a great holiday. And
thanks a lot, you too.
Well.
Thanks. You're tuning to Trust Fund Realty, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Trust One Realty, giving you the tools to make your next move your best move. Now, here's your host, Arbi.
Welcome back to Trust One Realty. I'm your host, Arbi, and now we're going to talk about my pick of the week.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Trust One Realty.
Makes sense to me, Arbi. Makes sense to me.
All right, everyone. So we're going to have a little different pick of the week from next week on. It's going to be important information regarding buyers and sellers, the mistakes that you could potentially run into if you don't follow up.
This just comes out of the brain of Arbi.
Well, thank you, Q.
This comes out of the mind of Arbi.
Yes,
So take notes.
I will have an article. I will talk about it next week. I will have a report, and you could call the number that I'll provide to you next week, and you'll get an email upon you leaving a message. But we will discuss about it and get you a little more informative on the facts and all the mistakes and things that you could avoid when you're purchasing or selling real estate. Very important.
So that's next week then.
Yes, next
Okay.
week.
Sounds good.
You hear it on Saturday at 11 a.m.
Yep. That's
Not
right.
this Saturday, next Saturday.
Got it.
Correct.
That was a good show.
It was, wasn't it?
Herb Smith they're doing some great work over there.
Yeah.
And once again, that event is on December 11th. And that's
No,
one thing-
December 22nd.
December 22nd. Thank
Right.
you. December 22nd. I didn't realize how important socks were. You don't really think about that stuff, but I guess that makes sense though.
Yeah, it's the socks, shoes, a lot personal stuff is the ones that they need the most.
Right.
Personal stuff, personal hygiene. A lot of them don't have that. I've been part of I've done it almost 10 years, and they specifically ask for specific items because they're constantly out.
Right.
So, but yeah, I love what they do. I feel great when I help them out, either with monetary donations or clothing or food. I think my kids' toys, when they're old enough,
To donate it, right?
They're gonna get donated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? Thanks to all the Trust One Realty listeners, because you really do have the power to help organizations such as this. So thank you, Arbi, for sharing that news for them.
It's my pleasure. Once again, thank you, and hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to tune in next week. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment on my Facebook page at Arbi Agent and let me know what you thought of the show. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. I'll be there to help you guys out. There you go, folks. On our 6th episode, Trust Fund Realty. We hope to see you next week from all of us here at Trust Fund Realty, where we hope to make the next move a smart move. I'm your host, Arbi. We'll see you next week.
You're tuned to Trust One Realty, making sure your next move is a smart move. Now here's your host, Arbi.